Hey everyone, welcome to week 74. Today is day 3. It's Wednesday. It's our third day in our What Should I Paint week. And for today, you guys suggested that I should paint. Let's see how we do.
Okay, let's get started. This is day 3. This is our third day in our ongoing What Should I Paint week. And I think it's been an awesome week. I think that when we ask for your suggestions, you guys in many ways already know us, and the suggestions you make are either super fun, super challenging, and I think that you're also very aware of the things that I enjoy painting, and perhaps you're sending me things that you can imagine me enjoying painting. So for that, I'm like super grateful. I mean, I looked at all of the suggestions that you guys sent. We got over 100 suggestions in our Instagram post. And some of them are really wacky, which I love. I mean, I absolutely love when the starting point just doesn't make sense because it does provide me with a ton of liberty. But other things, like, for example, yesterday, I don't think I've mentioned that I used to listen to a ton of jazz while I painted for many, many years. And it was really funny that somebody suggested Thelonious Monk dancing. So I thought it was really, really fun to push my mind back to when jazz used to accompany almost every single moment of my painting, of the, act of painting. Nowadays, not so much. I was saying yesterday how I don't think there's anything wrong with that. It's just that I think that if I want to listen to music, I'm just going to sit down and listen to music for a little bit. And I really enjoy doing that. But when my mind is set on painting, I don't know. Many years ago, I kind of trained myself to not need anything to paint, to just be alone with my thoughts while I'm painting. And it just provides me with a very sort of clean slate where I can reflect upon my painting. So one of the things that I guess I sacrificed was the listening of music, because I was saying yesterday how music became sort of like a background thing while I was painting. And when I wanted to enjoy music, I wanted to do exactly that, to like pay attention to music. But honestly, I have like one neuron in my brain, and I have to devote that neuron's attention to painting. I can't ask it to just split into two and listen to music and enjoy music while I'm trying to paint something. So it was really nice. It was a really nice encounter. It was really nice thinking about Monk's music again. And, trying to not depict his music. I think that that's a very challenging endeavor, but try to understand visually at least some of the mannerisms that he had when he was dancing, when he would stand up and dance. So I thought that was super, super fun from yesterday. And again, what I love most about this week is the fact that all suggestions are different. I mean, by the end of the week, the paintings should feel my own because it is me painting them. I guess that's also part of the challenge. The fact that even though the starting point for these paintings can be super eclectic, it is my job to try and make them my own paintings. I think that that's my responsibility. Day 1 and day 2, they couldn't have been more different. I mean, Joker from Batman and Thelonious Monk dancing. I mean, those two things sound amazing, and they're super, super different. And for today, I got a really nice suggestion that I actually have some history with. If you think about it, I shouldn't have a history with these incredible depictions of these mythical beasts. But sadly, being in New York and being at the Met, you realize that there are pieces that you question why you're able to see them in a museum in New York. So one of the pieces that has an enormous impact, I think, for almost every single visitor that goes to the Met is the Lamassu. They have a pair of Lamassu in a gallery at the Met, which are absolutely incredible. I remember when I was in my first year in school, those first days they were trying to introduce us to the city. So our drawing class went to the Met to draw some classical sculptures. But I remember seeing those Lamassu and thinking, this is one of the most amazing sculptures that I've ever seen in my life. I mean, aside from it being just an incredibly beautiful beast, it has a small detail that is just genius, absolute genius. So because the Lamassu were guarding this palace that this Assyrian king had constructed, they are supposed to be in gates. So they are basically these guardians of this threshold. And because they are at a gate, you're going to be able to see them, when you're directly in front of the gate. And you're also going to be able to experience, their three-dimensionality while you're traversing that gate, while you're crossing that threshold. So if you look at them straightforward, you're going to see the front legs of these beasts. They can either be lion's legs or bull's legs. The head is going to remain the same. The beard, the hair, the headpiece, those are all going to remain constant. But as soon as you start to cross this threshold, you realize that these are winged magical beasts, and they appeared to be static when you were looking at them head on. But as soon as you look at them in their profile, you can see that the beast is actually in motion. So if you want to think about it this way, it has a fifth leg that only makes sense when you're looking at the figure from the profile view. But when you're able to see all 5 legs, when you're looking at this figure like at a 3/4 angle, oh my God, it's magical. I think it imbues it with a bigger sense of it being an imposing beast that was made to guard these passageways. As I said, it's very, very strange to see these Assyrian pieces, which belong to what today is like northern Iraq. Of course, they were excavated by a British lord in the mid-1800s. Eventually, they were purchased in the 1920s by Rockefeller, and he ended up gifting them to the museum in 1930, and these 2 Lamassu were in view from 1932. So yes, museums are places where they take really good care of these artifacts, and it's a place where everyone in the world can come and enjoy these amazing works of art. But, they don't belong to New York. It's very weird. It does speak about colonialism. You do have a sense, like in the pit of your stomach, that yes, they do take care of them. I'm sure the Met as an institution loves them, but that's not their home. They belong somewhere else. So when somebody suggested to do a Lamassu, I mean, everything about the Lamassu just screams what I loved about creating mythical beings when I was younger. I used to love all these fantastical beasts from a bunch of mythologies where they were always mixes of different animals. And when I was younger, I used to imagine and draw these completely disjointed beasts that were pretty much collages, where I would just put, the hind legs of this animal and the wings of this animal and the front legs of this, and the tail can have the head of this animal, and the front could have multiple heads of different animals. Like, I used to love to do that. I still remember, and I'm not being hyperbolic, one of the homeworks that I enjoyed the most when I was a little kid in school, I still have it in my brain. It was one of the things that I had to do for school that has remained with me, 35 years later. It must have been that powerful. Here's me. I was probably like 8 years old. We're going to create our own dinosaurs. And she gave us like a bunch of pictures of dinosaurs. And she said, what you have to do is just cut all these pictures up, and then you have to put them together. You have to Frankenstein them together and just create your own dinosaur and write a story about, this dinosaur that you've excavated. And I was like, oh my God, I can finally do what I love doing at home, which is just make monsters and fantastical beings. I don't really remember what I ended up doing. I think it had parts of an ankylosaurus. I'm pretty sure about that. I have that vivid memory in my brain. Again, one of the most enjoyable days in school. One of those moments that I held on to. I know my memories are sad, right? I have memories of homework. Oh my God, that's super sad. But anyways, when somebody suggested Lamassu, I was like, oh, this is amazing. I'm going to relive that experience that I had when I was a little kid. But then I thought, well, but I have no reason, aside from my own enjoyment, to be honest, I have no real reason to just represent this fantastical being. If anything, it just reminds me of me feeling like it was out of place when I saw these 2 beautiful sculptures in New York. So I told myself, well, these amazing beasts were meant to be guarding this palace. Let's try to bring that story to America. Let's try to Daniel Boone this story of the Lamassu. And then I thought, well, we have to make it Walt Whitman-esque, because I thought, well, it's this bearded figure, and I don't know, but my mind immediately went to Walt Whitman, and I thought, okay, we can make the head be Walt Whitman. It just makes perfect sense. So I thought I would do a sort of throwback to that monstrous version of the Middle Ages of the, I think it was like the 13th century, that depicted the Holy Trinity, which is an incredible image. So I thought, okay, I could kind of play around with this idea that the Lamassu had, in the sense that you would be able to have a notion of these different perspectives that were present in the way this beast presented itself to us. And I thought I could do that not with that fifth leg, but with the sharing of the eye in that turning head. So I was like doing my checklist and I thought I got Walt Whitman and I have my illusion of perspective or this kind of turning space. I could tick that off too. And then I thought, well, what is he guarding? It's not a palace. It's not anything. It's just very American, so it has to claim ownership. It just has to say, this land is mine. This vast expanse of land is mine. And it could be any land. So I thought, okay, if we're going to make it American, again, this Daniel Boone-esque Lamassu, I have to make it a bison, and I have to give it bald eagle wings. If it could be wearing a Stars and Stripes t-shirt, it would be wearing one. This is going to be a wonderful way in which I can just translate this wonderful Assyrian magical beast, take that story and transpose it and make it belong to the expanse of land that America, through colonization, claimed ownership of. So this is my interpretation of a Lamassu. It's not a bull. It's not a lion. It doesn't have the wings. It doesn't have the headpiece, the crown. It doesn't have the belt. So it's kind of stripped of all that knowledge and power, replaced by this very strong-willed animal, which is the bison, and it has these glorious, beautiful eagle wings. Despite its origins, it's still a very sensitive, very knowledgeable beast. It's a poet. There is that Whitman there with its face really close to the ground, trying to be one with earth, I guess. It's kind of grazing / contemplating. So a little convoluted, but that's where my head went, because as soon as somebody said Lamassu, I was just transported back to my first year in art school, those first moments that I went into the Met, having this feeling that, these beautiful, beautiful statues just were not at their home. They did not belong there, that it was very weird, very melancholic for me, understanding how beautiful they were in the wrong place. I mean, the Met is a beautiful museum, but this was not the place for them. Even though visually they are incredibly attractive in terms of sparking this creative energy that's always been in me, I didn't want to try and paint Lamassu in its historical context, which I'm sure they must have looked absolutely beautiful in the 9th and 8th century BC as the protectors of this palace. But no, I wanted my interpretation to be, what if Lamassu was a jackalope? Because there's nothing more American than a jackalope. I'm sorry, but if there's one mythical beast, if you had to imagine one critter, not even a beast, just one fearsome critter that is part of North American culture, it has to be the jackalope and all these tales that lend themselves to hoaxes and mockumentary films. I thought, okay, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to do it as if I was a taxidermist from Wyoming, and for generations I had heard the story of the American Lamassu with the Whitman heads. So this was the way I found to enjoy the starting points that you guys suggested. And I think that's what this week is all about. These terms or words that obviously signify things, you understand them as starting points. In my case, I always try to unearth these relationships that I have with these things, if I have them. If I didn't, if it was something that meant nothing to me, I would still try to find a way to play around with it. I'm sure there would be formal qualities that would be interesting for me to try and develop through a painting. And if I don't know anything about what somebody suggests, it takes no time to just sit down and for a couple of hours just investigate a little bit and read about what you're supposed to paint. So it was really fun today. I think it ended up looking like a Maurice Sendak beast. So I think that my Jackalopian Lamassu, my Whitman-esque beast, belongs to America, as opposed to the Lamassu that are in New York. So I guess that's, part of the message of this painting. That's going to be it for today. I'll see you guys tomorrow, and we'll see if we're going to be able to make connections with the suggestions that you guys give me, or if I have to just make something completely up like we did today, as if we were an outlet in South Dakota selling these taxidermy mounts of our American Lamassu. So I'll see you guys tomorrow. Thank you. Bye.